Uneven progress. Global energy access gaps persist despite renewable gains. The global energy transition is underway, but it is leaving too many behind. According to the Tracking SDG 7, the Energy Progress Report 2025, nearly 666 million people still live without electricity, and 2.1 billion continue to rely on polluting fuels for cooking. While renewable energy and electrification efforts have expanded in recent years, especially in Asia and Latin America, progress remains dangerously uneven across regions. The Sustainable Development Goal 7, SDG 7, aims to ensure access to affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy for all by 2030. With only 5 years remaining, the world is not on track to meet this target. Renewable capacity grows, but not equally. In 2023, global installed renewable energy capacity reached 478 watts per capita, up from 248 watts in 2015. While developed nations averaged 1,162 watts per capita, developing countries averaged just 341 watts, and Sub-Saharan Africa a mere 40 watts. This glaring disparity reflects the slow pace of investment in regions where access to modern energy services is most needed. Renewables accounted for 17.9% of global total final energy consumption (TFEC) in 2022, up from 14.6% in 2010. Electricity consumption from renewables rose nearly 8% year over year, and solar and wind generation have more than tripled since 2015. Yet these advances have not translated into equitable progress. For example, while renewable energy comprises 66% of TFEC in sub-Saharan Africa, only 12% comes from modern sources like solar or bioenergy. The rest is dominated by traditional biomass, which offers limited socioeconomic benefits and poses significant health risks. Electricity access. Sub-Saharan Africa lags far behind globally. 92% of the population had access to electricity in 2023. That's a marked improvement from 87% in 2010. But the remaining 8% represents 666 million people, the vast majority of whom live in sub-Saharan Africa. The region now accounts for 85% of the global electricity access gap, up from 50% in 2010. Population growth continues to outpace electrification in many African nations. In 2023 alone, while 35 million people in sub-Saharan Africa gained access to electricity, population growth erased most of that progress, resulting in a net reduction of just 5 million in the access gap. The situation is especially acute in rural areas, where 84% of the global population without electricity resides. Nigeria, 86.6 million, the Democratic Republic of Congo, 79.6 million, and Ethiopia, 56.4 million, account for over a third of those lacking access globally. Off-grid solar and mini-grids offer scalable solutions. In response to the grid's limitations, decentralized renewable energy (DRE) solutions, such as mini-grids and off-grid solar, have emerged as cost-effective and scalable alternatives. Between 2020 and 2022, over 50% of new electricity connections in sub-Saharan Africa were made through decentralized systems. The sector remained resilient in the face of macroeconomic headwinds, with more than 50 million off-grid solar products sold in both 2022 and 2023. According to the report, off-grid solar is the most cost-effective solution for 41% of the unconnected population globally. But unlocking its full potential will require a surge in investments, streamlined regulations, and data-driven policies that target affordability and technical capacity at the local level. The Mission 300 initiative, led by the World Bank and African Development Bank, aims to facilitate electricity access for 300 million people in sub-Saharan Africa by 2030. With a financing target of over $90 billion, the initiative represents a critical step toward closing the region's vast energy gap. The overlooked crisis. While electricity access gains are encouraging, the report highlights persistent stagnation in clean cooking. In 2023, 2.1 billion people, about 1 in 4 globally, still relied on polluting fuels such as wood, charcoal, and kerosene. These practices cause household air pollution that disproportionately affects women and children, contributing to an estimated 3.2 million premature deaths annually, according to WHO data. The access gap is most severe in Sub-Saharan Africa, where only 7% of rural residents use clean fuels, compared to a global rural average of 55%. Without stronger intervention, 1.8 billion people are projected to lack access to clean cooking by 2030. Annual investments of at least $10 billion are needed to reach universal access. Financing gaps threaten SDG 7 goals. International public financial flows for clean energy totaled $21.6 billion in 2023, a 29% increase from 2022, yet still below the 2016 peak of $28.4 billion. The majority of funding remains debt-based, 83% in 2023, raising concerns about affordability and long-term viability for low-income countries. Grant-based financing declined by 39% year-over-year. Solar energy dominated funding flows, receiving $9.44 billion, 44% of the total, while hydropower and wind saw modest gains. However, least developed countries, LDCs, received only a small share of these funds, despite representing a substantial portion of the global access deficit. IEA and IRENA estimate that to meet SDG 7 and climate goals, annual clean energy investments must rise to $4.5 trillion by 2030. Without a significant restructuring of international financing mechanisms, these targets are unlikely to be met. A call to action. The world has made measurable progress toward universal energy access, but not enough and not everywhere. The 2025 SDG 7 report reveals deepening disparities, especially for Sub-Saharan Africa and other vulnerable regions. The path forward must include stronger policy alignment, vastly increased investment, and a rebalancing of financial flows to prioritize equity and inclusivity. Without urgent and targeted action, the goal of affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy for all will remain out of reach. You've been listening to Sustainability Soundbites from E+E Leader, where the business of sustainability meets real-world impact. With over 10,000 downloads and 23,000 views on YouTube, your brand could be the next to lead the conversation. Ask us about sponsorships.